Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to see everyone here on a Monday morning. I really appreciate you all taking your time out of your days, whether it be your work schedule at home or here for final presentations. My name is Evelyn, and I will be student teaching at McGuffey High School in rural Claysville, Pennsylvania, which is 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. So to begin our presentation today, I want to prepare for my student teaching experience. And through my classes this semester, I've learned a lot of different things. One of those things is writing correct objectives. So I tried to have my wording up here describing my future internship and explaining and identifying the key factors of who I aspire to be as a teacher. So as we begin, my first question is, who do I aspire to be as a teacher? I chose this image up on the board because I aspire to inspire. I'd like to take a moment for those of you at home and those of you here to close your eyes. I want you to imagine yourself in your high school. And instead of on the first day of school, I want you to do the last week of school. You're walking down the hallway, you're in your favorite classroom, and the smells all come back. You can hear the chatter and the laughter in the room. Now open your eyes. Did you picture your own classroom in high school? Was it your favorite class that you picked? I didn't say it was an agriculture class. But I don't want to be just that favorite teacher, but I want to have students come to me to enjoy the classroom experience. Whether it's because they're learning a lot, they feel a connection with me and the other students around them, or they enjoy the material. So I aspire to be someone who can inspire others, whether those be students, other teachers, and not just those students who come into my classroom, but that are agriculture students, but even students who walk by in the hallway. I want them to realize that I'm here for them, and I want all my students in school to be successful. Next, I would like to talk about my teaching philosophy. So on the screen here, we have a picture on the left of me in my FFA jacket with some of my previous FFA members. Before I knew what a teaching philosophy was, I was already creating one. When I was in high school agriculture, I realized that FFA was going to be a part of me, and I wanted to be a part of it and create it into something greater. My teaching philosophy started in high school when I realized how much I loved agriculture. I really wanted to make a difference, whether it be in the classroom, in the community, or even within myself. Through my 4 years of high school, my 4 years of my college experience, here I am today. I have a philosophy of inspiring others like we have just talked about, and I really want to make a positive difference and help students, whether it be just in agriculture or throughout their life. I know sometimes it can be very difficult to reach all of the students, but I want to do my best to strive for that. And I know it will come with time and experience. Next, I would like to talk about my conceptual framework. Here, my conceptual framework has students and FFA members at the center. That's what I want my program to be about. I would like, as you can see, it spreads out into 6 different categories. I'm just going to start at the top and work from my way around. FFA gives students experiences in different aspects of competitions, friendships, and relationships with community members. I feel like the FFA brings real-life situations to students in other ways that maybe you don't experience in your history class or in your geometry class in high school. Through those real-life experiences, you become career prepared and ready. So with that, through other CDEs and other events and communication, you're getting prepared to walk into a career. Now, whether that be your career of college or a career in the field, the student would hopefully know best what to do, and I can hopefully push them to achieve all of their goals. Through their career and experience, they are adding knowledge. So when they add knowledge to whatever they're doing, you learn by doing. You also learn by PowerPoints and getting information handed at you, but I found best that most students learn by doing. You don't learn to drive your car just by playing a simulator game. You learn by getting in your car, taking the exam, and turning your turn signal, like yielding when it comes to getting on the highway. So that's how I plan to add knowledge, and then into my classroom and lab instruction. Classroom and lab instruction is like the PowerPoints. Some students do learn better like that, and I plan to obviously use those tactics, but also lab instruction, I want my students to be hands-on. I want them to be able to work in the animal science lab and be holding the gerbils, cleaning out their cages, understanding maybe certain health concerns, identifying the sexes of the animals. Those are all like qualities that I think would be helpful to the students. Through that, you can create new solutions and other ways of problem solving. What I've learned about high school students is they are so bright and they don't even realize it. They create these solutions to problems that like I wish they could write reports on and have published in newspapers. Like students are so inspiring to me. So they're creating so much knowledge and I don't even think they know it sometimes. So through that, it creates the new ideas and open communication. If the student has a great idea about the FFA program, I'd like them to move, maybe talk to the principal, talk to the school board, get into the community, ask local farmers and even your grocery store butcher if you have any questions. Through that, you can apply those great ideas. So if I have someone interested in the meat science and they want to apply those ideas, maybe they do talk to the butcher at your local store. Through that, they can go in and maybe they end up getting a job. Maybe they end up realizing that they want to go to college and study more about meat. Maybe they realize they like poultry and they can work for Tyson or another company. So those great ideas can also be brought back into the classroom through SAE. So supervised agricultural experiences are, that's what they say they are, supervised, where students have these experiences of more hands-on activities, and a lot of it is solely student-based, so it's not teacher-to-student instruction. It is mainly students acquiring knowledge on their own. And through that, they can search up building their education, and that leads us to the community involvement, or building relationships, I'm sorry. And then that leads to the community involvement. So one thing in my high school that I had challenged with is being really involved in the community. We did community service projects, and I got to know my community better, but moving to McGuffey, I really want to get involved with the community. I'm more from Lancaster area, so going to Pittsburgh will be quite the change for me, and I'm very excited to see those new relationships that I can help build with my students and my community. And then it goes back from the community to the FFA through support and sponsors. Making those relationships can help build an FFA program, build a school, and help build individuals themselves. So my model program curriculum, if I could choose what I'd like to teach, I'd have an intro to agriculture, I'd have animal science, and then in my animal science they'd be learning more about livestock, meat sciences, veterinarian skills, and then small animal sciences. I'd like to also do plant science, which would include horticulture, greenhouse management, landscaping. I'd also like to do wildlife and fishery science. I have quite like the urge to learn more about that. I did have a wildlife class in high school, but it didn't satisfy me enough. I still want to learn more. I'd also like to teach agricultural mechanics, which would include your small gas engines, welding, and electric. And then finally, I'd like to teach equine science because I have a passion for equine as well. So total program integration. You have to include your program in many different ways. So this would include your classroom instruction, and I chose plant science to kind of like talk it out. So your plant science course would include your greenhouse management unit. You can learn how to manage those plants and manage the greenhouse and put it all together. So this builds your knowledge. The FFA helps grow your knowledge through different CDEs. Through greenhouse, you can do landscape and design, agronomy, floriculture, and forestry. To help build even more upon that, you have your SAE program. Your SAEs are your agriculture, these are the proficiencies awards that you can compete for. You have agricultural services, agri-science research, diversified horticulture, and then vegetable production. So even just starting with covering a day in class of the greenhouse management unit, you can open a door to all these other opportunities. Eventually then, I would like to go into the community involvement. This includes an alumni, your advisory committees, volunteers, and local sponsors. Through all of these, you can make more connections throughout your community and meet more people. Next, I would like to share my recruitment video. There are different ways to recruit students. Obviously, social media is a really big push these days, and I would have a Facebook page. I'd reach out with flyers, handwritten cards. I want it to be personal. So, with some help of a classmate, we have created our recruitment video.
Educational, enjoyment, service.
Family, festive, and impactful.
Fun, educational, and welcoming.
It means that I am part of a family I'm never there.
We're Miss Hack,
I'm Miss Zaleski.
and we're the agriculture teachers here at the high school, and we hope that you'll sign up for some of our classes next fall.
Some of the classes that we offer in our program are Horticulture 1, Horticulture 2, Floral Arrangement, Landscape and Architecture, and Landscape Design.
In our FFA chapter, we're all about learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, and living to serve. We hope to see you.
So that was just a little sneak peek of a recruitment video. That would probably be presented in a school where you have like a student-teacher night or a student-parent-student night. Also, if you're like trying to get elementary school, middle school students in a program, that would also be very helpful. Another thing that is very important in a classroom besides just your instruction is your classroom management. You can't really learn a lot if there's no instruction. So if you look over to the audience that's here to your left, there's different expectations and procedures that we have. So my classroom expectations include basically having students coming to class prepared, whether that be with a pencil, an open mind, or willing to learn new things. I'd also like my students to be timely and productive, and then giving their best effort I find is very important to learn new things. I plan to implement these at McGuffey. I also plan to build upon this more, so like I'd introduce it the first day, and then students would eventually get into a routine and it would work out well. Next, we would have classroom procedures. Classroom procedures would help management practices, so students aren't flustered or they're not like talking in the corner or doing something they might not should be doing. So they should always start to begin their bell work, prepare their materials, and remain engaged in my lessons until I dismiss them. So for an example, if we're in the greenhouse and we're making propagation cuttings, or we're doing plant propagation, if the bell rings and my students leave, then I don't have time to clean everything up and prepare for my next class in 3 minutes. So when I dismiss my students, I feel that will help my management tactics. So then we go into my classroom consequences. My first defense for my classroom management would be verbal warnings. So if I had a student acting out, I'd be like, hey, Sally, let's not do that. Or I'd be like, this is not appropriate, can we get a later time? Or I'd say no. Flat out no is also a good answer. The second offense would be a written warning and consultation. So That would be like your detention, a lunch detention, or be like, hey, let's talk after class, or if you have time today, meet me in the morning. My third offense would be called parent or guardian. So at this point, because of an FFA program, it's kind of nice because I know their parents and so forth. So it's like, hey, please don't make me call Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That would not look good for either of us. I don't want to do it, and I know you don't want me to go there. And then our fourth offense would be the office referral. So I would have students go down to the principal's office. I'd call the principal to let them know they're coming and make sure we have management practices there. Then I can continue my classes. So then I have pedagogical video abilities highlight. So some things that we learned this semester is something called VCOV, which you will be able to see a little bit in the video. I'm only going to play a short clip of this because it is sort of long. So if you could just wait 45 seconds and what I'm trying to show is my variability in the classroom. And through this video, I did a neat science course for a micro teaching unit. And I had a really good time doing it, and I definitely learned how to have variability in my classroom in just an hour. It was really neat to be able to meet down and talk with students one-on-one. And then what they ended up doing here is that they were cooking, so they were identifying marbling and grading, and then one of them taste testing and check juiciness, tenderness, why is this crunchy? Maybe this should be cooked longer. So it was really fun to have that variability in my classroom. The students sitting down, they were also then cooking meat, and then from previous days they were working on a poster project. So it was definitely classroom management, and then moving into the end of the period, the students were still finishing up their meet, and then we had a group discussion on what we were doing. So I really enjoyed this. It's kind of fun to see that you have variability in your classroom, and through just those 60 minutes with your students, but it's also important to have it throughout your unit. So an example of this would be in my mechanics class. Some days we would be in the classroom and we would be doing instruction of teacher to student, kind of like we are now. Or some days we could be in the shop and we could be working on a group project all together, or students would be working individually. So what experiences and opportunities have prepared me for my student teaching experience? So I have some images up here of some things that I think have really helped me. I would like to start off with Penn State. Penn State has really given me bountiful opportunities to help teach students and help them grow through classes and through other, I guess I would call them extra classes. They're extracurricular, I assume. So going from there, I would talk about outdoor school. Shavers Creek Outdoor School is an environmental center where I got to spend a week with 5th grade students. It was about 100 of them, and we helped feed them, we helped house them, helped them all get showers, and it was great because I learned a lot of different management techniques through just 5th graders. And it's kind of fun because then I can convert it to my older students, so I really enjoyed that. Other experiences, I was in the CPR and first aid training class this semester, and most people are like, oh, we have to go to CPR training. I actually really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I'd like to get more certifications. Now, I'm not saying I'd like to be an EMT, but I think it could be very helpful for my future classrooms. And then the main picture I have up here is USLI. USLI is United States Liability Insurance Group. It is a Berkshire Hathaway company, and it is overall owned by Warren Buffett, and I worked out for them for one summer. I was an intern in the liquor and hospitality team, which is not super related to agriculture in any way. I kind of wanted to get my feet wet outside the field of agriculture, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun coming to work dressed up every day, meeting new people, and being able to meet people like Tom Nerney and Sasha Mao. Those people have really enhanced my experiences. Through USLI, I'm also certified I have the fundamentals of insurance and the introduction to insurance certificates. So it's definitely interesting to be able to apply those special tactics to my classroom. So I'm the AEE major. What that means is I take a lot of agricultural extension education courses. So my core classes that I've taken throughout my years are Ag Extension 100, 295, 311, 412, 350, 349. These classes have all helped me get where I am today, presenting in front of you. So my AE 100 class, I didn't get to take that until my junior year because I was at different schools. So it was really interesting to see all the different aspects in one semester. And thinking back to it, I have no idea how we got through all this material because my presentation now isn't even enough to just tell you about the major. Another class that I also enjoyed that I had this semester was AEE 311. It was a youth development and leadership class where I learned a lot of different things about having a program of activities, a CDE plan, and an SAE plan. And these are things that, at the time, the first day of class, I was looking through the syllabus and I was like, I'm not sure how much, this will help me. And you go into the class and you create these things and it's like, wow, look at this structure. And it's great because then you have ideas from other classmates where you can do different things. So other things that I've learned about is diversified learners, which was in workforce education, which I will talk later in the presentation about. And some other supporting courses that I had that were in agriculture was in soil sciences, horticulture, animal science, arboriculture, and Theater 112. Theater 112 was an introduction to theater class, which I took my freshman year in Altoona. Being in high school and my freshman year of college, I did not want to stand in front of anyone. I would not say a word. My introduction to theater class put me up on stage in front of 100 students, and I had to lip sync Taylor Swift songs to 22. I really got out of my comfort zone, and that's probably why I'm a little weird today, but it's definitely okay. So from agriculture to my theater class, which I never even thought I would be interested in, it really helped shape me into the person I am today, and I could not be so thankful that I am. So other related experiences that I've talked about is my USLI liquor and hospitality, the CPR AED first aid. I'm also an NSTMOP instructor, so safe tractor driving, helping students work with that. I also have memberships in PAAE, NAAE, ACTE. Some other internships that I haven't really discussed were the Penn State Arboretum horticultural intern. So I worked at the Arboretum at Penn State for a summer, and I really enjoyed my experience there because I got to learn a bunch of different plant ID and different plant managing tactics. I also got to visit different gardens, so I was able to visit Phipps Conservatory and Longwood Gardens and see how those programs are run. And it's really interesting now to think back at Phipps. I know how all the background work that they do, and it's so comparable to AEE because I'm doing all this background work and to make a good program. Other experiences were my Shavers Creek Outdoor School and then workshop facilitation. I'm a member of the Penn State Grange and the Elizabethtown Grange, and I've also held workshops for my junior Grange back home. I've also helped work at Fall Leadership Conference, or FLC, for the Secretary's Workshop, so that was definitely an enjoyable experience. Working with diversified learners, not every student is the same. Not every blade of grass is the same. You gotta do different things for different students. Some ways I talked about this was giving a PowerPoint and then also being hands-on. I'm gonna open up here, and I actually have more than one learning disability. I have ADHD, and I also have auditory processing disorder. So I have learned a lot of different management tactics from being experienced to this, and I know how difficult it can be, so I feel like this will help me with future students. In my school at McGuffey, we previously have had a student who could not see out of one eye and who was taking a welding course. Well, in a welding course, you need to see where you have your electrode lined up to your metal. And having only one eye, you really don't have that depth perception. So it really helps me as a teacher adapt and learn different ways to help teach my students so that they can reach their full potential. The other diversifications besides learning abilities includes your cultural, religious, and other backgrounds. So International Agriculture 100 is what I had here at Penn State, and it really opened my eyes to different economic statuses. There was an assignment that we did where you could just participate in spending only $2 over like 3 days. And that included like your shower or like brushing your teeth, like using deodorant. So it really puts you into perspective, like how can I attend all my college classes and be responsible as a human and have $2 to spend. So I definitely have a spot there where I can relate and put myself in those shoes. Another organization that I'm beginning to get involved with is the LGBT Cultivating Change. I feel that this is really important in schools and in the changing world that we have today. I believe that everyone has a voice, and I know there have been certain events that I feel like I could really help and talk to students. I want them to feel comfortable and I want them to feel safe. Just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your first one is feeling safe, being fed, having enough water, and getting sleep. My students aren't going to be able to reach their full potential at the top of the pyramid if they don't feel safe in my classroom. So how am I prepared to maximize my student teaching internship? Here is a picture of us at National Convention with my students. And I like to do this by being involved with my students. So this week, I'm actually going out for one of their holiday banquets, and I'm helping them stuff a stock trailer, which I'm very excited for. And I'm also, which I had talked about, is McGuffey's in the southwest corner of Pennsylvania, and I am from Lancaster, so it's quite the distance, so I really want to maximize all the people that I can reach out to. So some information about McGuffey. My cooperating teacher is Mrs. Renee Cambruzzi. It's a comprehensive program, so we have our intro to ag, greenhouse, mechanics. We have 3 classrooms, 1 computer facility, a welding shop, a woodworking shop, floral shop, greenhouse, and even an outdoor classroom. I have never seen a program with so much stuff. And as soon as I came to McGuffey, I was like, oh, this is it. No, I can't look anywhere else. I need to be here. So they also have 100% SAE involvement. All students have an SAE. And they also have 100% of the students that are in the classroom are FFA members. Some of my courses are listed up here. They're also in your packets that you've received. I will be teaching 8 periods a day, which I'm very excited for. And I really can't wait to see the opportunities come January. So roses and rosebuds. One thing that I learned in outdoor school was to put the students to bed. What we had to do is talk about the best part of their day. You didn't want them sad or missing home. And so instead of saying, these are my high qualities and these are my low qualities, I like to call them roses and rosebuds. Because roses are obviously beautiful and the good things, and the rosebuds are something you can work on to improve, to create something great. So I believe that I have resiliency and especially stamina to be able to get through this and do this. And sometimes trains get in the way, snow comes and it's just a hot mess. And I want to be there and I know I'm going to get better with time. And I feel like I can really get the situation under control. My attitude and personality, I feel that I can really relate to students. I don't want to just be another teacher. I want to be someone who is there for them. And I also feel that I can bring humor to the classroom to help them learn. Some things that I plan to work on throughout my lifetime is my clarity of instruction. Sometimes I'm not very clear when I watch videos of myself teaching. I feel that I can be a little bit scatterbrained and I have this great idea in my head, but I just have to get it out in words so my students can understand it. I also have to work on gauging my student understanding. So me giving directions, I need to really look at their face and they're like, let me see what is going on. So I'm definitely going to be working on that come January. Classroom management, I also need to kind of put my foot down and say no when it's necessary. My micro-teaching experience, I definitely was not very prepared in classroom management. I think it will be a little easier at McGuffey though, because I feel like my students and I already have those connections. Another thing is I'd like to refine my physical mannerisms. So usually when I present, I'm going to count my hands out here, I'm really talking, I'm really enthusiastic. I need to bring it back a little bit. So we gotta bring it back so it's not as distracting and I can get my point across. Lastly, PSU Ag Ed 17. One of the phrases that will forever stick out to me is leaving the woodpile higher. I will never forget that. And one way I feel that I've contributed to PSU Ag Ed 17 is I feel like that I've been really realistic, and I know that even recently in the beginning of the semester, I've gotten calls from the cohort, and they'll call me up and they'll be like, Evie, how are you doing? Evie, can you help me with this? And it just feels like I'm like back in FFA. I'm a part of something greater than myself, and it's very fulfilling, and I hope that my cohort feels the same way. For next year's cohort, how I hope to plan to leave the woodpile higher, I would like to help them in every way possible. Having Ag Ed 311 with them was awesome. I love my cohort, but sometimes I just wish we were one big one. I really got along with everyone, and I felt that I could connect with each person individually, and it really made me feel good, whether they were in agriculture education or not. So, as I bring my presentation to a close, I'm going to open up for some questions. And I really appreciate all of you coming today. Feel free to ask questions online and obviously in the group. So, Dr. Foster, would you like to begin to facilitate, or would you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's show our appreciation for Evelyn. Let's start with Colby Stewart.
How do you plan to build rapport with your community?
So certain ways I plan to.
Evelyn, I'm going to ask as we start this that you repeat the question to make sure those online can hear.
Okay. So the question that Colby asked me was, how do I plan to build rapport with my community? So I actually have this idea of SAE integration with the community. I'd like to have community involvement, whether we reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to sponsor an FFA member for an SAE? This would include if they have work to do on a farm, so rebuilding a fence, helping with livestock production, or even mowing yards. This way, students and community members can meet and then they can work together. I'd like to help facilitate that because I don't want to just be the only one in the community. It's a school that I'm getting accepted into and a program that I'm getting accepted into, and I really want the students to make the best of the community and the school around them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe we have a question from Mr. Miller. Kurt?
What is one rosebud you have for the McGuffey FFA chapter, and how do you plan to work to make that rosebud into a rose?
Okay. So the question Kurt asked me is, how do I plan to have a rosebud and create it into a rose at the McGuffey School District?
For the FFA chapter.
For the FFA chapter. So one rosebud that I would think of. So a rosebud that I would really like to improve upon is reaching out to other students in the without in the FFA to bring them into the FFA. So one way I plan on doing this in the spring is I want to go to my student sporting events. Even if none of my FFA students are in have a tennis match, I want to go. I want to be there to support the students and be like, hey, you did a great job. I really appreciate your enthusiasm out there in the court. I'd like to see what you can do in my classroom. I think you can really build it, and I think you can create something great. So just getting that one-on-one, and I want the students to know that I'm there for them, obviously on a personal level, not just on an academic level. So.
Very good. Ms. Herr?
So kind of building off of that, you talked a lot about leaving the woodpile higher here at Penn State. How do you plan to do that at McGuffey and leave those students in the community better than you started?
The question was, how do I plan to leave the woodpile higher at McGuffey? It's so hard because I feel like they're going to leave the woodpile higher for me because I just feel like they're going to build me and my experience up so much, and I'm very excited to do that. To build the woodpile higher at McGuffey, I'd like to try some new things and also help Mrs. Cambruzzi out. I have a lot of new ideas that I'd like to try out and kind of make my students guinea pigs to see if it can help her and then help the students grow further on. And the nice thing about this is working with a professional and having someone who has this experience and then refining it to so it works to all of her classrooms in maybe different ways.
How about a question from the teacher education panel before going back to the audience?
I can ask one. Evelyn, as you visited McGuffey, specifically related to Chapter 339 requirements, was there anything that you noted that McGuffey did extremely well in any of those areas?
Actually, so the one day, so the question was, I'm sorry, referring to Chapter 339, what is one thing that McGuffey School does very well? I actually visited one day, and they have just gotten renovations. So they have a whole new welding shop, they have a whole new flower shop, and I finally got to visit when most of it's completed. And the day I was there, they have a new ventilation system, and I actually got certified in like understanding the ventilation while I was there. So I had that professional involvement, and I just thought it was really well that I'm a student teacher and they got me certified. So I thought that was very well, and the safety of the students is of utmost importance, especially in a new shop and new environment that I will not be familiar with, and even Mrs. Cambruzzi and Mr. Leisure are still learning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Angie, I believe I saw your hand.
So you talked a lot about what you're going to be teaching in the different subjects, but what do you plan to do if a student is having issues learning your classroom material? How will you help them?
So Angie's question was, how do I plan on to help students who are maybe struggling with some material in one of my classes or one of my units? So I could go about this in different ways. I check to make sure that if a student has an IEP, to obviously follow up with accommodations with that. And if I notice there's something wrong or they have like some bad days, I think it's important like not to pull them out in front of the class, but privately and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, let's have some real talk. Like, is everything okay? Like, you know, did you get something for breakfast? Like, whether I bring like a snack for the student or I'm just like making sure everything's okay at home, I think that's really important. Because like, parents have to have all those needs met. For like, if I'm struggling with the unit, I'd probably ask them, and I'd probably do maybe an impromptu quiz, but not call it a quiz, and just kind of gauge their learning, and then I'd say, what do you feel uncomfortable with? What can I do to help you? I'd ask them to see if they have any recommendations, so maybe my teaching I could be wrong. But I could do, whether it be oral, handwritten, we could do more hands-on if that's how they learn better. I'd really like to talk to the student, and I know that can go in so many different ways. But I feel pretty confident in figuring it out, and it's really easy to work with a student like that because we both can communicate. It's not like a course where I'm talking to them if they don't understand what I'm saying. So, thank you.
Actually, at this point, we have a question from our online audience. Ms. Cambruzzi has a question for you. We are excited to have Evie at our program. You spoke a great deal about classroom management. How do you think your classroom management style will vary from a standard classroom to one of our lab areas?
Having a classroom in a lab area is very, very different. My classroom, I can see everything and I'm watching everyone. While I'm teaching the welding unit at McGuffey, it's going to be a little more difficult to see what everyone's doing behind the curtain as they're welding. I'd like to have a check-in sheet and have jobs, like so students are required to make sure everything is cleaned up, everything is put back, and they have like their bell work done, and then the check-in sheet at the end. So that'll kind of help me gauge where the students are and keeping things organized. Classroom management. I'd also like to, what I plan on doing for like especially the welding unit is if I'm like welding, I'd like students to watch to like learn that way, and then if someone feels uncomfortable and wants me to watch them, like we can do that. We can work one-on-one. Other ways is in groups, but I'd really like students to have that management skill in the laboratory, and then like if we can reflect on that back in the classroom. So I feel like that would be one of the ways to accomplish that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Russ?
I mean, we all know that having an agriculture education program is not just so much about being a part of the school, but it's a big part of the community and how
out and who surrounds it. Can you speak a little bit to how you'll integrate your community into your program and into your instruction?
So actually, one of the ways I'm already integrating the community, and I didn't even know it, was I am actually living with the Yosts, and they have their own feed store there, and they sponsor a lot of FFA events. So it's going to be kind of nice to be living at the feed store and being able to talk to the owners and seeing new ideas and bouncing off of them and creating like rapport between them and the students and inviting them to other places. Another thing I would like to do is I'd like to go on the SAE visits in the spring. I really want to meet with those community members and parents. They've been living there for several years mostly. And if they have someone they would like me to meet or they have a good idea, I hope they see the professional side and they're like, yeah, you would get along great. So-and-so could help you with your program. And that's how I plan on bringing that in, and then hopefully bringing those outside community members to my classroom, whether it is to speak or maybe even if we have my meat science class and there's a butcher, I could take my students on a field trip so they can see how swine is butchered properly. So I definitely like to have that classroom integration, and then through also SAEs of visiting the homes and having students work at someone else's property, whether it be mowing their lawn or working on a fence or rebuilding a barn. So, thank you.
Question from Denver?
Yes. So what do you see as a personal challenge for yourself in this position, and how do you plan to overcome that?
So Denver asked, what is a personal challenge I see for myself and how do I overcome that challenge? So one of the personal challenges I see for myself is, I guess it's kind of general, but I really have a lack of experience. Throughout my cohort, I'm actually the youngest person of the 7 of us. And I have never held a super high position in the FFA. I've never been a state officer. I don't already have a degree. I also don't have children or anything like that. So I feel that I'm lacking experience, and I plan to obviously go back through McGuffey. The other thing is I feel Mrs. Cambruzzi is really going to be set on helping me. I feel the welcomeness, and I've already stayed at her house, I've met her family, and we've talked about certain students, how do I manage this? And when we even went to national convention, I got to work on a managing skill while on a field trip, which I guess that's something else that I plan to work on. But my very first 2 days out at McGuffey, we're going to be at the Pennsylvania Farm Show and staying overnight. So that would definitely test my ability on the first day. So hopefully we'll start high and build up from there.
Any other questions from the audience? Last question from the audience, Ms. Lang.
What are you most excited about at McGuffey? That could be teaching or just working, whatever. Just what are you most excited about?
Okay, so I'm picturing, Sarah Lang has asked me what I am most excited about at McGuffey. So after many years, some teachers, they're most excited about a Friday going home. I'm so excited to get there early and have my cup of tea and welcome my students. I'm so excited to have a homeroom, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I hope I know they're not all gonna talk to me. They're not gonna be no, let's be friends, but it's very exciting to have that classroom, and I feel like an adult, and I feel like I've really achieved some great things over my 8 years of education. So thank you.
And so I'll reserve the last question for you at this time, Evelyn. And, well, actually, you're going to have 2 questions, but I really want to ask 2 of them. And the first one I want to ask is, I'd like for you to provide an example of a learning activity that incorporates or transcends all 3 components of the total school-based agricultural education program. So one learning activity that places a foot or steps into or transcends, that reaches that sweet spot of all 3 aspects of the total school-based agricultural education program.
So I'm sorry to follow up with a question. So just one, in one lesson that I plan on teaching, a 43-minute class period example, is that what you're looking for? Are you?
It could be a classroom lesson.
Okay.
It could be an assignment. It could be a wide variety of things. The question is how does the learning activity that you're going to engage in incorporate all three aspects of the total school-based ag ed program?
So one thing that there's actually two now that I'm starting to think of it. I'm gonna do more of a harder one in my eyes. I have I believe it is a floral design class where we actually have a unit that is based on National Teacher Appreciation Day. And basically, it sounds like a strange unit, and it is, but the students do their own research project, and then they can present it to the teachers and the community members that are welcome to come in. So getting all those three components in is, my students are going to be sharing what they've learned. And that includes what they've already learned before I've gotten there. And it also can include some of their out-of-school work. So this includes like other homework assignments that I have assigned. It includes like exams and things they've done well on. And then it also includes my classroom instruction, but I'm really excited to see what the students put together because I aspire to inspire. So I'm, not that I have expectations, but it's not just going to be a poster. My students aren't just going to be like, this is my poster. I can see my students almost creating their own classroom and putting in what they've learned, whether it be from their SAE, from the CDE, from going to national convention, or even hopping on like an FFA website and learning new things. And I feel that it can fulfill different aspects of it, whether it be visual and then kinesthetic and
Very good. And I believe this will be your last question. Could you describe for me the a professional disposition of an excellent educator? So I'll repeat the question. You have time, take time to think. I want you to describe for me one professional disposition of an excellent educator.
let me take a moment for this one. Okay, so I gave myself too much time to think about this question because now I have like 6 ideas in my head.
Pick your favorite.
I know, I have to pick my favorite now. So there's one teacher that sticks out in my mind who, to me, it goes above and beyond the professional line. This person, I don't even know how to explain it. The way they include their classroom instruction into real life trips. So this person has brought students to other countries and has included like all parts of your 3-circle model. He has included all of your community members because I believe community members were invited. And it wasn't even just his school. It's this person's school. There were other people from different schools that were also invited. And I feel like it builds professional rapport with other schools, community members and sponsors, students and their parents, because you're taking your students outside the country. And then it also builds those relationships with people outside of whatever town they're in, outside of Pennsylvania, outside of the East Coast. You're immersing them into a whole different culture and a whole different ballgame. And I feel like that really makes your students very prepared in the long run, and it helps the community. So it kind of builds a lot of things in there.
Thank you very much. Let's show our appreciation for Evelyn.